The Witcher, Dungeons & Dragons, and RuneScape. What do these immensely popular media have in common? Trees. Among other things, of course. Not just any trees, though. Monstrous trees. It is now somewhat common to find a variation of a tree or forest as a reviled foe. In The Witcher, the Leshy is a fearsome, murderous beast who controls the forest to steal the life force of men. In Dungeons & Dragons, trees gaining sentience and acting of their own accord, whether helpful or malicious, is not an uncommon sight. And in RuneScape, evil trees are just another monster to be put to the blade. Knowing this, one question comes to mind. Why? How did we get to the point that, even outside of the horror genre, trees have become sentient beasts? What about a tree warrants fear? Well, as with most monsters, tree monsters were born from horror stories. However, unlike many popular fantasy fears, tree monsters are typically used to embody the characteristics of fears unrelated to actual trees. To understand that, we're going to have to take a look back at the history of trees in horror. Do you hear that? Yes, that stock sound effect of an off-roading Jeep, and maybe some ambient jungle noises. I'll decide in post. That means we're out on an expedition. Today, I'm in Java, at the site of the first recording of a bestial tree. Yes, it's a daring journey fraught with difficulty and danger, but nothing I wouldn't undergo for the sake of my dear listeners. So please follow and share. Your support matters. But hush now, for up ahead approaches the malevolent tree. Is what I thought, but it's actually quite empty here. And I don't mean of just fantastical monsters. Why, there's no life for miles, none at all. Hello? Anyone there? Ah, there it is. No, not that awful sound. That was a prisoner sent to execution, screaming his last. But what he is set to die to, that is where our quarry lies. The fabled upas tree, a tree said to be so poisonous that no life can grow within miles of it, is the beginning of trees' evolution in horror. The upas tree is not scary. In fact, it's so tame compared to other depictions of monsters that it almost seems believable. According to Hannigan's Beyond Control, Orientalist Tensions in the History of the Upas Tree, this tale was born during the Victorian era, when such foreign phenomena could reasonably be unknown, and was mixed in with facts about Java. This story introduced the idea of sentient trees to Victorian Gothic. The explanation that this legend offers to the reason behind these depictions of trees has multiple facets. My favorite of them is the idea that some creature exists out there, in the far corners of the world, growing slowly, a poison brewing, waiting to be stumbled upon by some poor sod. I imagine a sort of primordial evil, waiting to be unleashed, and the longevity of trees explaining why one would be the catalyst for such thought. That being said, however, the more fantastical arboreal horror stories that sprung up afterwards don't lean into this idea much more than the upas tree does. From studying Price's Vegetable Monsters, Man-Eating Trees and Findicical Fiction, the beings in question become more and more of a plant-animal hybrid, some moving with their roots, others attacking with their vines, and even more spewing blood from open wounds. This evolution proposes 3 theories for this fear of trees: fearing the unknown, foreign natives, and imperialism. For the first fear, the idea of a mix between an animal and a plant, the creation of a being with camouflage, sturdiness, and bloodthirst, is inherently scary. It is also confusing. It makes a purpose out of not fitting into an easily defined category, an easy way to create fear. It's the same thing as hearing a child's laugh in an abandoned hospital. The combination is unnerving. Next is the fear of natives. Colonialism is a hallmark of the Victorian era, and citizens often didn't know much about the inhabitants of Britain's colonies. Price claims that some of these monsters were meant to depict the supposed savagery of the colonized. On the other hand, and the final large fear betrayed by these beasts, is the fear of overextending imperialism. Yes, these same creatures that served to show the presumed uncivilized brutes of the colonized world were also used to show fear over Britain's savage enactments of colonialism, along with careless disregard for nature's health and the harvesting of natural resources. These creatures proved to be a versatile tool for social commentary. And to think, it all started with the exaggeration of one tree's poison. Now that the early history of these monstrous trees and horror is known, we can move on to more miscellaneous theories behind the fear of trees. What, you didn't think I'd go and meet all of the actually scary trees, did you? I do many things for my listeners, but not that. No, I'll take us someplace much safer for the next step of our journey. Now, do you hear that? No? Yes, usually it's because I'm too lazy to add sound effects, but this time it's because we're in a library. We're here now to look at a few less literal reasons for this usage of trees. To start, I really liked Andrew Bennett's 8th chapter of Ignorance, Literature and Agnoiology, in his likening of trees to the unwanted growth of melancholy. Trees are everywhere, and there is nothing you can do to stop seeing them. This contrasts with the short story, The Flowering of the Strange Orchid by H.G. Wells, in which a man cares for a lethal plant that nearly kills him after its flowers bloom, bringing him great enjoyment. He takes great satisfaction in the departure from the mundane. This, to me, represents the perversive nature of demonizing trees, something so pure turned into lethal predators. And now, for the most scientific source I could find behind fearing trees. Are We Afraid of the Woods? An investigation of the implicit and explicit fear reactions to forests. In this study, researchers determined that trees in a controlled environment have a positive effect on mental health. However, when in an uncontrolled environment, like a forest, people are noticeably more guarded. This could be because forests have been historically risky places to travel through. The tree trunks create many gaps for hidden beasts or thieves, and the terrain can be hard to run away through. Forests are naturally high risk, high reward when compared to other biomes. Alright, that's all I could find here. Walk with me. While there were some very good theories for the prevalence of evil trees, for every one I suggested, 10 more likely went unnoticed. These beasts are symbols deployed in different times and places for different concerns and agendas. There is truth in each theory, undeniably. That being said, I believe that a combination of 2 of these concepts makes up the basis for monstrous trees' perseverance in literature. Their abounding spread and their seemingly endless growth. While colonialism and environmental concerns are the roots of these beasts, sorry for the pun, they don't hold the same importance in these stories today. Colonialism is not on the public's mind, and it feels like people have become jaded to environmental carnage. While the corruption of the stalwart figure and nature of the tree bring fear and confusion to the reader, this is the case with many other monsters, most of which are more able and willing to kill than a moving log. Out of all of these, the fear of sprouting, made up of the fears of spread and growth, holds the most credibility in this debate. It is the shadow cast by the hope of the determination of saplings. The idea that there is an enemy or a thought or a fear that will never stop multiplying, no matter how slowly. The idea that a beast killed, like a phoenix from the ashes, will return forevermore, and once its roots stand firm in the earth, whether in soil clear or crags crowded, it will grow far longer than a person's life. It will be far greater. Our walk nears its end. Before us spans a forest far and wide. Look at the tree. It starts as a seed, a small sapling somehow planted in a recess of the mind unseen. Through life, day to day, it drinks and eats, ever growing, no matter how slowly. Perhaps it multiplies, or perhaps it only grows, but by the time it's done, reaped are the seeds that are sown. For its roots have mangled the earth, its limbs have formed a cage most foul, and its boughs blot out the very sun.